Boxers, trainers, fight fans, members of the gym, welcome back to the No Decision Podcast. It is Wes Ibarra. Alongside me is Jared Joy Villapando. All right, Joy, everybody has showed up. We got 4 rounds, a very explosive 4 rounds, as a matter of fact. You ready to work it out?
I'm ready.
All right, ding, ding. Let's open up round one. I know I just said ding, ding, but holy crap, round one is a ding dong. Got a ding dong alert, folks. And once again, a ding dong alert means someone got knocked the fuck out. And that person happens to be Miguel Berchelt,
Hmm.
who was the WBC junior featherweight champion. And he was fighting 28 and 0 challenger from Mexico, Oscar Valdez.
Hmm.
Now, Oscar Valdez is a very good fighter coming out of the Eddie Reynoso gym.
Right.
And Berchelt, everyone knows who Berchelt is in that landscape. He was a champ. He was a frequent target of a Shakur Stevenson. And these two were pretty much on a crash course to meet Shakur at some point. And this fight was held over ESPN Plus in Las Vegas, the MGM bubble. And though Berchelt was a favorite, despite having that one loss on his record, or 2 losses now, he got KO'd in the 10th round on a very, very hard right, if I'm correct, right?
To left, I think.
Oh, left,
Yeah.
hard left, that just laid him out flat. And unfortunately for Berchelt, he was actually way behind on the scorecards.
Right.
Seemed like Valdez came to fight and Berchelt was just hanging on and trying to play catch up. But impressive win by Oscar Valdez. He seems to be on the fast track to be fighting Shakur Stevenson for that junior lightweight title and for the division, really.
Right.
So, Joy, what are your reactions to this upset slash potential KO of the year slash new champion?
I was quite surprised. I thought Berchelt was gonna overpower him. But it seems as though he Berchelt felt that as well. And early in the rounds, you could tell that Berchelt was trying to outmuscle Valdez, and he got caught. Right. Berchelt, he does quite swing wide when he does throw his punches, but when he got caught, I thought he would kind of learn his lesson. He did. He started to kind of read Valdez's jabs, which I thought was the difference in the fight. Valdez's jabs was he was pretty good at jabbing that night, and so. But yeah, I'm really impressed with Valdez. Valdez kind of came in there, because Berchelt was more of the aggressor throughout the fight, and Valdez counterpunched, as best as he could, and I am really impressed. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Juan Manuel Marquez, but kind of the difference is Juan would sometimes be aggressive when he needed to. Valdez was kind of just waiting for his opportune moment.
Oh, absolutely. I would also like to mention that Valdez was moving pretty well
Right.
in the
Yeah.
ring too. And I was telling you, Joyce, we were watching the fight together, that this could have been a crash course for like a Marco Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales style fight,
Right.
where the two are just literally just going to stand there and try and kill each other. But that really wasn't the case.
Right.
Like you said, Valdez knew how to time Berchelt and counterpunch him, while Berchelt tried his best to do what his MO is, which is to aggressively pressure Oscar Valdez, and unfortunately, it didn't work out.
Right.
Um, it could have been valid for Berchelt's corner to actually stop the fight,
Right.
so that way that ding dong doesn't happen. Because for those that did not watch the fight, it should be all over the internet by now.
Mm.
He got knocked down not too long before, got up, was fighting, and was pretty much out of it at that point.
Yeah.
No equilibrium, punches were going nowhere. And there was an instance where he tried to hit him with a right, missed, and then Valdez countered with a left, and then the lights went down. Berchelt went down to one knee and then ended up stomach sleeping on the canvas. And oh my gosh, that was a scary looking sight.
Right, right, absolutely, and like I said, Berchelt, for some reason he looked like he was punching very wide in this fight. Even more so when he got hurt. He was just kind of off, out on his feet. But yeah, it was pretty much the same combination that Berchelt was kind of using. That he was comfortable with in the early rounds. That ultimately put him to sleep.
Yeah, it's unfortunate and unfortunate for Berchelt. Wonderful for Valdez, and I hope Berchelt is okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of Valdez, what do you think is next for him?
Oh, Shakur Stevenson. Uh, I think he is now the biggest target for Shakur Stevenson, right? But I mean, you still gotta talk these through. Probably another 6 more months. But yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean that's probably the biggest. I mean, fight that I could probably see because, like you said, right, Shakur has been calling out Berchelt, and now Berchelt is kind of. I would hope that Berchelt is going to take a little bit of time off. Um, you know, possibly a Valdez Stevenson.
Okay, well, we'll see. I would like to see that fight.
Right,
Like I mentioned earlier, this could shake up the landscape of that division.
right,
Or I got it wrong. It was junior lightweight, not junior featherweight.
right.
Granted, those two could have fought there, and it probably could have had the same result almost.
Right.
But anyhow, congrats to Valdez on being the new WBC junior lightweight champion. Speedy recovery to Miguel Berchelt and Shakur Stevenson. Keep being you, Shakur Stevenson. All right, that is the end of round one. Round two, we go to another beginning about billions,
Hmm.
and to some of you critics, another bum. Adrian the Problem Broner
Hmm.
entered his most recent fight at 33-4-1 versus versus Santiago 14-0-1 going into the fight. This fight was held on Showtime, welterweight 147 bout, 12 rounds over Showtime at Uncasville, Connecticut. Now, this was the kind of fight where for Santiago it could have been a moderate level up if he wins. As for Broner, if he wins, he stays active in boxing. If not, then we got a serious problem. No pun intended. And for me, Joy, it looked like Santiago did enough to win.
Hmm.
However, how the turntables, I believe it was 116-112, and then 117-111, 117-111 to Adrian the Problem Broner, who improves to 34-4-4, while Santiago inherits his first loss.
Right.
Now, my reaction, Joy, is what the hell? How about you?
I mean, yeah. At the night of the fight, I did think that Santiago was ahead in the scorecards. Now, Broner did do a great job in the latter half of the fight to kind of even up the scorecards or kind of close the gap. But at the night of the fight, I thought that Santiago had done enough to win, and I thought that this was quite a big upset because, truth be told, I've never heard of Santiago. And if Broner had lost to Santiago, someone who, I mean, Broner was pretty much the favorite to win the fight, right? But it turned the other way. I thought that Santiago did really well in the beginning of the fight, and Adrian Broner, right? We talked about this a lot, Wes. I mean, I think everyone talks about it, right? His biggest problem is that he doesn't let his hands go, and CompuBox agrees. He doesn't like to let his hands go. He likes to go for accuracy. The problem is he didn't even win that. According to CompuBox, Santiago was a little bit more accurate than Broner when you kind of go down the sheets. But yeah, kind of disappointing. I did watch the fight a second time this morning, and I actually kind of scored it as the fight went along, and I actually had Santiago win by 2 rounds. So, you know, tough, tough break. A lot of people say, this is boxing. I wouldn't. I don't like that because this is a sport that I love and I like, and this is a sport where a lot of these fighters make a lot of sacrifices, and so yeah, it kind of sucks just to see that decision.
Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed in the decision too. I had it 116, 112
Mm,
for Santiago,
right.
and I don't know where the hell those judges got those scores, but
Right.
it is what it is. Adrian Broner is a winner, as unbelievable as it is to say.
Right.
To be honest with you, Joe, I did not stick around for the post-fight interview because we all know how those go with that guy.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. I will say this. I mean, I don't wish Broner to lose or like anything like that. I actually kind of like Adrian, right? He does kind of have a soft side when you kind of look through all the 24/7s or like the kind of like the fight camp that goes through. Um, of course he is a very flashy guy, but he does have respect for a lot of the legends that are in the sport. But yeah, again, it's just frustrating because I think Broner can be really good. He can be a really good fighter. It's just that he doesn't let his hands go, and a lot of times he goes into this defensive shell.
Well, Joy, you said can. He's already past his prime.
Right.
So what
Mm.
else is there? I think what you're trying to say, Joy, is that he tries too much to be like Floyd and not like Adrian Broner.
Mm.
So he pretty much sold his soul to the Mayweather scheme or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But anyhow, he wins. He's a winner. He's fighting at 147. So
Ooh.
where do we go from here with the problem?
Yikes. One, I mean, the welterweight division is not the division you want to be if you're going to try to, you know. Oh, well, I guess it is. I guess, if you're going to revive your career, this is probably the division to do it in. Um, but there's a lot. There's quite some fights that I would like to see Adrian Broner, um, kind of go through. But again, like he's fought this guy. He fought Santiago, Giovanni Santiago, which I've never heard of. I've never heard of this guy, and I'm quite impressed with Giovanni. Um, but still, right? Like, I mean, who does he fight now? Right, Wes? We spoke about this. I think Broner could go down in weight. He could go down to super lightweight. 140 pounds is usually where it's pretty much where he found his success, and there's kind of mm, yeah, there's kind of a lack of superstar power in the super lightweight division. So I think you should go over there, try to establish yourself again as a fighter. It's not gonna hurt because he's gonna go down in weight instead of going up or staying at 147. So I think he should go down in weight, see who he can fight, see who wants to kind of go, in the ring with Adrian Broner. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of guys who wants to go against Adrian Broner, especially after all the things he would say, especially in the lead up to the fight. So yeah, I mean that's how I see it.
Okay. Well, I, to be honest, do not have an answer
Mm.
for that. I mean, 147. Yeah, they're really outside of Errol Spence Jr., Terrence Bud Crawford, Yordenis Ugas, Manny Pacquiao. There isn't really much else for him to do, especially given that if he fought all four guys, one of them fighting one of them again, he'd probably lose all four.
I would like to see. You know what? Now that you brought it up, perhaps a fight with Danny Garcia. Um,
Sure.
they're
Yeah,
kind
why
of
not?
coming off of a loss together, so you know, I mean, you guys know how much I like Danny Garcia. I think he's actually got some technique. Um, but yeah, I think I like that fight. I would like that fight.
And also, I would believe that Mikey Garcia is still at 147,
Mikey
despite
Garcia,
him
yes,
being
he is.
one of the better fighters of his generation at 140.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
But we'll see.
He's
We'll
also
see.
yes.
We'll see how it goes. But for now, congratulations to Adrian Broner
Right.
and congratulations to Giovanni Santiago. Hell of a performance.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, round three. Alexander Povetkin, Dillian White 2. It was supposed to be March 6th, I believe. But now it's moved to March 27th in a nice place called Gibraltar. I have never heard of a fight being staged in Gibraltar. Now, Gibraltar's a nice place,
Right.
don't get me wrong. But holy cow, that's a first. Uh, Given that both guys are still pretty relevant in the heavyweight division,
Mm.
it's going to bring a lot of press to the area. And as a matter of fact, it might actually provide some resolution to this rivalry. So, Joy, what is your reaction to the fight being moved again, this time in a place where no one would expect, but could turn out to be pretty okay?
I think we mentioned this before, right, Wes? I thought that when Povetkin and Dillian White first went head to head, and of course Dillian White got knocked out, um, they, like, I think it was like a couple days later they announced Povetkin White 2, which I thought was way too early. I think they had it at December at that time, which again was way too early. So I'm kind of glad that they moved it to March 27th, right? You should
Well, they
never.
moved it a couple
Right,
times.
right. But I'm saying, like, I'm glad because, after you get knocked out, you shouldn't just get back to the ring. Make sure that, you're completely healthy. And yeah, Dillian White is quite a character. He can be a little bit hard to fall in love with. But, he's still one of these fighters, right? He's still one of these guys that, pretty much put a lot into the sport. And we just saw Berchelt get knocked out, and Wes, we were kind of scared when he wasn't moving for like 5 minutes. So yeah, but yeah, Gibraltar. I don't know why I just said it like that, but yeah, I've never really heard uh, Gibraltar kind of hosting fights. So this is kind of this is interesting, right? I think there is going to be, quite a big press. Um, so we will see. We will see for this fight. I don't know if it's gonna end with conclusions for this rivalry, but we will see.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm excited to watch it.
Hmm.
I'll be tuned in for that fight. A part of me feels like Povetkin is gonna win again, but
Ooh,
hey, we'll
wow.
see. We'll see.
We'll see.
My thing is, if you already gotten ding donged by AJ, chances are, But all right, that's the end of it. So again, Povetkin White 2 moves to March 27th in Gibraltar. Let us know what you think about that. And if there's anyone from the country, let us know. Let us know how you feel about this fight being staged in your home country. But that is the end of round 3, going into round 4. Joy, I want to talk about another boxer that seems to have garnered waves on the internet. And no, I'm not talking about Ryan Garcia. We've had enough Ryan Garcia talk for the past couple months. But this guy is also undefeated, like Ryan G. This guy's name is Brandon Lee. 21-0, Korean-Mexican fighter out of California. Like I said, very popular on the internet.
Right.
You could say he has a similar perception to Ryan Garcia. Has not been tested yet. Has not fought anyone of caliber.
Right.
BoxRec has him as a 2.5-star boxer. However, he is a knockout artist, and we would love to see how he does against someone that can give him a test.
Right.
Now, Joy, I don't know how much film study you've done on Brandon Lee. I've only watched one fight, the whole thing of Instagram and YouTube videos. What do you think about this guy?
You know what? He looks like a pretty good fighter, but I don't think he's a boxer. And there's a difference, right? Fighters they like the brawls, right? They like to fight in bars, and they like to grab anything that they can to use as a weapon. Well, Brandon Lee actually has a lot of. He's pretty big. He's pretty well built. From the fights that I have seen him in, he relies a lot on his power, which can be. I get it. It can be intoxicating, but don't let that negate your ability to learn how to box, right? We've seen it before. Guys who fall in love with their power try to, kind of just stay getting powerful, and they don't kind of learn how to use all that power. But, he's young. One thing I do like is he's 5'10", which, super lightweight. 5'10", super lightweight is definitely not going to be the weight that he finishes his career in if it blossoms into something a little bit bigger. But yeah, he is quite popular around social media or like the internet. He's not in that level of Ryan Garcia where he kind of just pulls a lot of crowds, and he has a lot of fans. But like you said, Wes, right? He's quite unproven. And kind of just looking at Boxing Rec, I think he fought a guy that had like 4 straight losses. So there's not a lot of substance there yet, right? But we will see. We will see.
Interesting, Joy. I really like that take. And yeah, I would want Brandon Lee to fight his version of Luke Campbell, right? He needs someone to give him a test. I don't know who that is.
Right.
I don't know when it's going to happen. But hopefully I do want him to do well. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, as I have in my notes here, I feel like he has a similar perception to Ryan Garcia.
Okay.
And you said 5'10" with power. Yeah, who also happens to be 5'10" with power. And happens to pull a lot of impressions on the internet. So it makes me wonder if this is the future of boxing, Joy.
Right.
Are we going to find our next round of talent, or that next once in a generation talent via the internet? It's not about visiting hundreds of amateur fights anymore.
Ooh.
Could it be that? Could we be heading towards such a environment?
I hope not. That's just my personal opinion. But like I said, there's a lot of really good fighters out there that don't get recognition, that don't, get the social media follows that, you know, Lomachenko is pretty much, he only has like what, 18 professional fights to his name, and but he's had a stellar amateur career, and part of that is because he wasn't getting the attention that he needed as a boxer, right? He was just super, he's super talented, super skilled. Um, but he's 30, 32, and that kind of says a lot about you know how much exposure he's had to the media. And but Brandon Lee has something that going for him that not a lot of fighters get, and that is media exposure, right? At least his name is being circled around in social media, which is good. It's probably gonna promote him to a bigger fight than he probably would have liked, like earlier in his career. So right, we'll see. And like we said, right, the super lightweight division doesn't have a lot of big names, and so hopefully Brandon Lee can be that big name for now.
For sure. And members of the gym, I would like for you all to give us your thoughts on Brandon Lee.
Mm.
Do you think he has a similar perception to Ryan Garcia? Do you think he can be a future world champion, multiple division world champion? Or can he be a quote unquote greatest of all time, like his internet counterpart claims that to be? Let us know. Let us know. But Joy, that is the end of our 4-round sparring session. I enjoyed talking about Berchelt and Valdez, Broner, Santiago, Povetkin, White, and Brandon Lee with you, as I always do in the boxing landscape, and having our members of the gym come by and listen to both of us and probably learn something about the sport.
Right.
But before we close out tonight, do you have anything you want to
No, pretty much just good night.
All right. Well, before I turn off the lights, if you're into cars that look like arrows driving around twists and turns at over 200 miles an hour, check out the Run It Back podcast. I almost said no decision twice. The Run It Back podcast on the same channel, the Wes and Joy channel on YouTube, and Wes and Joy show on Spotify. Joy is the lead there. He and I get to talk about the landscape of Formula One racing. Every now and then we also get to talk about other racing and joke around with drivers and their teams and maybe their managers, but nonetheless the landscape of what's going on. And this week we talk about new cars being released, engines being renamed, what cars look great, what cars don't look so great, amongst other things. Well, we're closed now. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But for what it's worth, we'll open up next week and we'll have a fresh set of rounds for everyone to take part in. But until then, for Joy Villapando, I'm Wes Ibarra. Have a great night.